I have three logos here that are all in need of balancing. Like, look at this guy. We have text flying off the page. What's going on? So these are three ways to balance a logo. Now, there's more ways to do it than just these three, but I'm going to show you at least three. Let's start with this guy over here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some type of base measurement that I can use as a unit that I can base all of my other measurements and proportions off of. So we're doing a little bit of math, but it's not going to be hard like at all. The tool makes it super easy, so it's not even going to be a problem. Now I like to try and pull something from the logo initially. So this is for Tiger Lily Clothing Co. and these are two tiger lily leaves kind of folding in on each other. And what I see, if I wanted to pull some type of proportion from the logo, I would consider the size of maybe just one of these petals, use that as a measurement, or maybe the distance here, use that as a measurement, something like that. But this is a very organic and flowing logo, and so it's kind of hard to pull spacing or something that's a good size proportionally. Sometimes you do get logos that have a base unit built in. So for example, my logo has this square and I can use this square to proportion or to balance the logo. But we don't have that here. So what type of base unit can I use? Well, what I'm going to use for this one is the typography. So I'm going to look at, excuse me, I'm going to look at the baseline up to the cap height. Something like that will be my base unit of measurement. And I can make this a square if I wanted to. So we have our base unit. I'm just calling this my unit here. And that's what we're going to use to proportion and balance this whole logo. Now, part of the balance of the logo is the logo itself with the typography. Now, if we zoom out here, the typography is thinner than the logo itself. So what we need to do is we need to increase the weight of the text. So just by bolding it, I think that helps a lot. We could also go up just a half step to like medium instead of regular, or we could go up to heavy or black. I think heavy and black is too thick for this, so I'm just going to stick with bold so that the weight of the text matches the weight of the logo. I'm looking at the thickness here. I think this works better. Now, size kind of dictates hierarchy or importance, and right now, this is all one size, all my on my typography, which is fine. It could be fine. But then the thing is that it's also really long. So what I'm gonna do is this Clothing Co. We're pretending it's an important part of the name here, so it's got to stay. But what we can do is take this and cut it out, and we're going to make this a separate piece. So it's free floating on its own. Now we have Tiger Lily, which is the more important part of the name. It's the actual like branded name. So we're going to keep that. And size dictates importance. So I'm going to shrink Clothing Co. down so that it's Tiger Lily is bigger, which means this is more important than this. But I still want Clothing Co. to be relevant. Now let's take a look at the attributes of this text here. So it's 76 point size. What I'm going to do is in my point size for Clothing Co., I'm going to go 76 and I'm going to divide that in half. So that becomes 38. So it is twice as small as Tiger Lily, and I think that works for me. Sometimes you might want to go even smaller. If this was a longer form of text, like I can go 3 times as small. I just do 76 divided by 3, but that's a little too small, so I think what I'll stick with is 76, divide that by 2, and that works. Okay, perfect. So we have our base unit here from our baseline to the cap height. Right? Is that right? We got to remeasure it. There we go. Now that works. Make sure it's on our baseline. Okay. That's our base unit. Now it's time to actually proportion this thing to make everything look like it fits, because right now the size of this logo is arbitrary, and we want to fix that. So this is our unit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and bring it down underneath it, because I need to figure out the spacing here. How much spacing between the Tiger Lily and the Clothing Co. do I need? And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put the Clothing Co. half a unit below Tiger Lily. So what I'm going to do is select my unit here, draw a line going out, and then crossing over. And then I'm going to put this in the middle there, like that. So this line goes straight through the middle of this unit. Now I'll just take this and drag it up to that. And if I hide this, there we go. So we have our word mark aspect of the logo now proportioned and balanced, which is good. Next, what we're going to do is balance the size of this logo, make it proportional to our typography. So what I'm going to do is we need a gap. We need to figure out how much space do I want between the logo and the type. And obviously right up next to it is way too close. I'm going to use 1 unit of space right there. Okay, now how tall is this going to be? I'm going to bring this over. I'm staggering these just so that I can have that visual of how my units are positioned and how many units for each aspect of this lockup. Okay, so we have 1 unit of spacing, and now I'm going to bring this up, and I think about 5 units of will be good for the height. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's perfect. That's 6. Don't need that. Okay, now we have this position, so I'm just going to grab this top handle and hold shift to bring it down till it's in line there. And boom, there we go. So I'm going to select all my rectangles, hide them, group these together, put them in the center of the canvas, and scale it up. How does this look? Do we like it? I think that looks pretty balanced and pretty good. So what we have, if I just bring back all these rectangles, we figured out our base unit, which is from the baseline to the cap height. And then we scaled down our Clothing Co., which is a not as important aspect of the name. It's like a subtitle almost. Brought it down half unit underneath Tiger Lily. We have 1 unit of spacing in between Tiger Lily and the logo. And then the logo is 5 units tall. And that's all proportional based off of this text right there. So that is, now we have a proportional, balanced logo that is not arbitrary. Now what we can do, a second aspect of this is when we go to render out our lockup, we want to minimize the amount of useless space around the edges here. So this is just my color reference for the brand. I'll keep that up there. So I'm going to remeasure my base unit, which we know is from baseline to cap height. And let's just stick that there. And I'm going to make this a square by coming down here. The height is 107.9. So I'm going to make the width the same, which is now a square. And what we're going to do is put a square on the bottom left corner, like that, and on the top right corner, like that. And now I'll take the artboard, and I'm going to resize the artboard to fit inside the guides here. Now, the thing about Affinity, which I think this is stupid, but you cannot snap your artboard to objects within the artboard. Doesn't really make sense to me. So what we're going to do is bring this out of the artboard, and then this left edge will now snap because it's outside the artboard. It's kind of weird. Select this, put this back on the corner, and then bring it to the side. And now we will bring it up to the height. There we go. So now we have a perfect margin there. Another way we could do this is to bring this up and bring that over like that. So we have both of them, and then by bringing it in, it is now scaled the way we want to. So let's hide these guides. And now we have our lockup. So when we go to render this, it's going to have built-in white space around the logo, around the lockup, so that when we place it down, it's not going to, elements are going to be crashing into it. So this is a balanced, very nice looking vertical lockup. Let's move on to a horizontal lockup. So we have a similar problem that we have here with the Tiger Lily being all on one line. Let's just fix this, making it bold, and I'm gonna cut this out and paste it as its own thing. Cool. Now what I'm gonna do here is simply make the clothing co the same width as Tiger Lily there. And I think what we're gonna do is basically copy the proportions from here over to here. I think that just makes sense to stay consistent. So we're gonna go use our T, from baseline to cap height. There we go. Place this underneath it. Let's draw a line. Select this, put the line in the middle, and then bring the clothing co down so that it's half a unit below Tiger Lily. Perfect. Now let's make this a square. So 57.9. We're going to put this on the outside of that, space this like that. Let's give myself some room here. And then we're going to make this 5 across. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. This is positioned where it needs to, and just scale that down to the 5th. Perfect. Now let's select all of our rectangles, hide it, and that is what our lockup looks like now. Beautiful. I think that works pretty good. Let's do this, put it in the center of our artboard, scale it up a bit, pretty much as we can. Oh, and you know what? Let's take this, ungroup it, group the text, put it in the center of the logo like so. Now we'll regroup that. And now we have our lockup. Next thing we need to do is same thing here. This is 75.6. Make that a square. Now let's prepare our artboard for the render. So click that. Bring this to the corner. And then to the opposite corner. Right there. Does that look right? That looks right. Beautiful. I'm going to set these on the outside of the artboard so that I can actually resize the artboard. There we go. And something like that. Almost. Okay, perfect. It did snap down there, which is great. Now I'll hide these guides. Get rid of this guide, and this guide, and this guide, and that guide. And now we have our horizontal lockup also figured out. So it is all balanced and proportioned very nicely. Cool. Now we're going to do a circular lockup. So this is going to be interesting. Now, the thing is, at least in my experience, Affinity is pretty inconsistent when it comes to text on curves, but we're going to do text on a curve. So I have my circle here. I'm just going to make sure that it is centered with my logo, which it wasn't, so I'm glad I checked. And the first thing that we need to do is figure out the spacing between the circle and the logo, because we don't want the logo to be too small. We don't want it to be too big. So we need to figure out a good spacing. A lot of times you could eye it, just find something that works good. Like for example, the bounding box of the logo could just fit right on the center of the circle. That's a pretty good way to go about it. Makes it look pretty nice. And honestly, that works really good for this one. So I'm actually going to stick with that. Now we have our circle here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit T to grab my text. and I'm going to make sure that all of my settings are the way I want them to, so something like that. And now we will select our circle, and boom. Let's write the name of the company on here. So, like I said, I feel like text on here is super inconsistent. So it'll be interesting trying to get this to work. But the first thing that I want to do is flip this around by clicking this button to put it on the outside of the circle. And then these little triangles tell us where the positioning of the text goes. But it's all types of inconsistent for me. So we'll do our best here. Now, this triangle denotes the start position. This denotes the end position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the end up here and then bring the start around up here. And there are little markers that they'll snap to on the halves. So by putting it on the horizontal half, so for example, let's pretend like this is right in the center, which it actually is. Then by scaling up the text all the way until it breaks, we get it as a semicircle, just like that. But let's say that you wanted to keep the circle because the circle disappeared. What we can do is click on our text, click on this button to open the text frame settings, and we're going to add a stroke. And I need my color here. Let's bring this over. So click on this. I do want a stroke, so we'll select my color and set the point size. So 10 points will be pretty good. And now the problem that you see here is the text is intersecting with the circle. So what we need to do is on this baseline percentage, we just turn it down. Probably about 30 works perfect to where there's no more intersections and the text sits above the circle like that. Perfect. Now the last thing that I want to do just to add a little bit of extra information is add a established date. So we'll do EST 23. We'll select this, delete the stroke because it was pre-applied like that. And I'm going to put this over the circle. Now, obviously, it's intersecting with the circle. We don't like that. But I'm going to do something here so that it will, we're going to cut through the circle to show this at the bottom. And the height of this, I think, works pretty good because our text here, let's see, is 68 points. So let's go 68. If we divide that by 2, that'll be, I think that works. So half the size of our point size there. Let's make sure that this is all centered. There we go. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm just going to draw around the bounding box of this. Let's put this underneath it. And then I'm going to give it some space to the left and the right. Just like that. Now, how much space? Just enough to where there's enough of a gap to make this legible. Because now what we'll do is we'll come here, duplicate it. We're going to take off of the stroke. And then on this other one, so if I show this, we have one with no circle. That's okay. Showing this other one, we have our circle here. I'm going to right click it, expand stroke. It's going to disappear, but that's okay because we're taking this rectangle, shift click on the circle, and we're going to click this button up here to get rid of it. So now when we bring back this other text, you can see that it appears there, which is perfect. Last thing to do is click on this circle and we're going to round these corners. So hit C, select these nodes and round it till these circles come together, which in this case is about 5 pixels exactly. Make sure it's all the same on both sides. And now we have a circular lockup. So I'll just grab this, put it in the center. And you need to use, there's this little extra handle on the outside. You have to use that because it scales the text with it. Otherwise, what you can do, I'm going to just create a copy. You can right click on the group. I grouped everything together and convert it to curves. So now we have this as curves, and it doesn't matter what I do. It's all going to be proportionate like that. Coolio, here we are. Scale it up. Perfect. Now we have to determine spacing for this artboard. So what we're going to look at here is, since we didn't have as much of a fundamental base unit, I'm going to use the gap from the top to the edge of this circle there. That's what we're going to do. So let's make this 103.8 because that's what it is here. I set this on the corners. All right, and then we'll just do what we did before. Put these on the outside. So we can resize our artboard. Oh, and I need to lock the children up here. Click this button on the artboard. Otherwise you won't be able to resize the artboard, and it will just do everything inside of it, which we don't always want. There we go. Let's get rid of these guides. Get rid of these guides. And now we have our circular lockup prepared for this logo. This is an option too. And now we have 3 balanced lockups ready to go. I hope you learned something. I'm still getting used to talking through my process and doing videos like this. So if you enjoyed it, you might also like this video where I give you a bit of a behind the scenes look at how I balanced my personal logo. So go check that out. But thanks for watching, and peace out.